Hey guys, and a couple months ago, I watched a video from Steve Gaming about how Nintendo's design philosophy limits accessibility and customization of how people play games, and it got me thinking about the Mario RPGs. It reminded me a lot of the difference between the older Paper Mario games and the newer games, with how the newer games are inherently limited in design, and why I don't really think they should go back to that now that the Thousand Year Door remake is a thing, and the fact that they've been incorporating badges into a lot of their recent games. So before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before the Switch 2 launches, so if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, and if I hit that goal, I will give away a copy of the new Mario Kart game. In the older games, like especially 64 and Thousand Year Door, they had quite a lot of options with its badge system, allowing the player to do insane challenge runs entirely within the confines of how Nintendo wants you to play the game. It wasn't crazy with its accessibility options, but at the same time, it did allow you to play the games in more ways than Nintendo usually lets you. But meanwhile, in the games from Sticker Star onwards, the battle systems are inherently limiting, only giving you a few options and locking bosses to only having one solution to beat them. The modern games are basically forcing you to play them how Nintendo wants you to, and it allows for very little variation with playing styles. I feel like this may be due to the fact that they are almost puzzle games in a way with how their loadouts are designed, since if you solve the puzzle and clear out the enemies in a single turn, the games will reward you with a perfect bonus. I really don't think changing the battle system to accommodate for this puzzle element was really necessary, since Paper Mario, from its start, already had sort of a puzzle element to it anyway, even in 64 and Thousand Year Door. Like, if you've ever been in the Pit of 100 Trials and Thousand Year Door, the last 10 to 20 floors can really feel like a puzzle, especially if you are low on resources and don't have that many badges if you're doing it earlier in the game. And your badge layout and partner choice could be very important, since these enemies can have high HP, high attack power, high defense, and can really be hard to work around. So it really feels like a more interesting puzzle in that way, while at the same time isn't really limiting you in the resources that you can have and can use. It really feels more natural in that way, based on your progression in the game and different things that you find. So there is a way to keep the puzzle element of the battle intact without sacrificing strategy and flexibility. I know some people may argue that the Thousand Year Door allows you to cheese bosses, while Origami King sets you in a specific path for a reason, but the older battle system kind of already had some solutions to this. Like, you could always make the game harder for yourself using, like, different badge layouts. And for newer players, I feel like the fact that the boss doesn't lock a certain ability behind it may be more important than the boss being cheesable or not, honestly. And the solutions that the battle system had are basically, with Paper Mario 64, there were some bosses in the game that strongly recommended that you use certain moves or abilities, like Lady Bo when Tubba Blubba's heart charges up, or Sushi's abilities during the Lava Piranha boss fight. And then in the Thousand Year Door remake, the new bosses also take advantage of some of the abilities that you have, like Prince Mush basically requiring you to use Super Guard as long as you don't, like grind a ton before you do that fight, and Waka being centered around doing a lot of damage in a single attack. There are many ways they can make these bosses interesting without artificially increasing the difficulty and make you play in the ways that Nintendo wants you to. Even the Mario and Luigi series demonstrates this in different ways. Like, the boss gimmicks in, like, almost every game in the series has interesting boss gimmicks. Like, a couple that come to mind are, like, in Partners in Time, where you have to hatch the eggs in Sunnyside's boss fight to basically allow the Yoshis to, like, push the stone onto them. And then Brothership has several instances where you have to trigger a Luigi logic event. Like, sometimes it's actually strategic in how you trigger it, like the boss has to be in some sort of state, like the Guam Bowser fight, for example, The Luigi logic event can only work in certain circumstances, but on top of that, the Luigi logic adds, like, it breaks up the monotony of battles a little bit, and makes it, like, a little more interesting, without, like, feeling too artificial, I would say. It still fits in with the flow of battles, I would say, and still feels pretty fun without sacrificing any of the abilities and interesting things in the battle system. It really makes the bosses feel less like a damage sponge, like how like a lot of older Mario and Luigi bosses felt, but that's besides the point. That's just kind of, it's just another example of making the bosses more interesting without sacrificing interesting things in the battle system. And another thing is that Thousand Year Door allows for better accessibility and adaptive difficulty with its battle system and just overall formula. Like, there's practically an easy and hard mode built into Thousand Year Door. Leveling up and putting more stats into HP or FP, or using HP and FP plus badges, can be helpful for newer players, while more experienced players could use more badges and kind of use less HP and FP and kind of work around that. And then badges also allowed you to change many different stats and abilities, including defense and blocking, immunity to status effects, or giving you more attack power based on different conditions, allowing you to have a lot of strategy around different things, and basically allows you to plan around a lot of different loadouts, like how I was mentioning with the example of the Pit of 100 Trials earlier. You could also make action commands easier with simplifier and unsimplifier. Definitely, like, allow, like, if you have trouble with, like, the reaction time of action commands, that can kind of help you ease into the action commands, like with simplifier, and then once you get used to it, you could use it without it, or if you want to have a challenge, you could use unsimplifier. So that definitely kind of allows, like, future games to possibly have some accessibility options. I feel like that definitely opens up the potential of badges in a lot of ways in that regard. And then another thing is that you could also, like, add a level of challenge with Double Pain, which makes enemies deal twice the amount of damage. So they don't even have to make a whole separate hard mode. They can add new badges that basically allow the difficulty of the game to increase if you want at any time. There was also a thing in Bug Fables that did that as well, so I think Paper Mario could definitely expand upon that idea. So yeah, and in the modern games, there really aren't many options to make the game easier or harder for people. Like, it really doesn't allow you to have that many options at all. The only game that really does or have any semblance of doing it is Origami King, with its accessories, which do things like increase HP, guarding, and time, with the first two being comparable to HP plus and damage dodge respectively. While this is a fine addition and a nice thing to have, this really is below the bare minimum, I would say, since there really only are 3 upgrade options, and really feel like an artificial easy mode disguised as a badge system. It really doesn't have the flexibility that Thousand Year Door has with its badge/level up system. It almost felt like it was just trying to throw a bone to the people who wanted the badges to return. It really didn't feel fleshed out or interesting. I did like some of the things that Origami King's accessories added, like the little gimmicky things like the pedal bag, confetti vacuum, ally tambourine, coin step counter, retro soundbox. Those were cool. But I would like to see actual badge mechanics along with that. And on top of that, it also has an option for you to pay Toads in battle to solve the puzzle for you, which is a really weird way to make the game slightly easier. At that point, it's basically removing the entire fun and point of battling away, rather than actually making it more approachable and accessible. There could have been a better way to make it easier while not really removing the fun of battles. It really felt like it was just a solution to, like, kind of an issue that the devs were having with the puzzle element. It really didn't seem like a genuine accessibility option. And another thing is that the badge system is really a way for Nintendo to include both accessibility and difficulty options in their games without sacrificing their design philosophy or making the game too easy or too difficult. The badge system really strikes the perfect balance in a lot of ways, which I think why it works perfectly in Paper Mario. And it's been working well in other games too. Mario Wonder also has a badge system that worked really well and allowed the player to play the game in ways that they wanted them to. Whether it be to have a challenge, use certain abilities that they liked, or make the game easier, it really just allowed you to do quite a lot with the mechanics of Mario Wonder. And Mario & Luigi Brothership also had a form of badges reminiscent of Paper Mario's with the battle plugs, which allowed you to use certain conditions and abilities in battles, which added more depth and strategy than other Mario & Luigi games, at least in my opinion. So it would really make a lot of sense for Paper Mario to use its badge system again, as it would allow the games to feel much more customizable, and the battle system to have more depth. The Thousand Year Door remake even added a couple new things to help its badge system. Nostalgic tunes can change the music back to the music of the original game, so sound options can be included as badges that you could obtain at the start of the game. First Attack, a badge that was already in the game that allows you to instantly defeat an enemy in the overworld if you're significantly higher leveled than them, was also improved to where it uses 0 BP and frankly notifies you when it's available. So they're already making steps to making badges even more of an accessibility and customization option, which they could kind of build upon in the next game. I know it may seem a bit weird that some badges are things that should be locked as like a menu option, which in a lot of games are a menu option, kind of allowing for more accessibility in that way. But I feel like having them as badges might seem like a little more enticing from like Nintendo's perspective. Like Nintendo sees it as, oh, they're not really letting people break the game. They're making it into some kind of mechanic in the game. I feel like it's almost sort of a loophole to get around Nintendo's like weird philosophy with how they like design games and like kind of block people out from having certain accessibility options. If you can't have those accessibility options in the menu, they could have them as badges. And since Thousand Year Door kind of already does that, I think building upon that kind of makes a lot of sense. It is another reason why I think Paper Mario should kind of continue to use its older system again. So yeah, those are some of the reasons why I really hope Paper Mario goes back to its older gameplay formula, and I really hope they don't really make it limited again, like the modern 3 games. While I enjoyed Origami King, and I thought it was a pretty fun game, it was inherently limiting with its battle system and design, and I really don't think they should go back to that. It would really feel like a step back after the Thousand Year Door remake doing so much, and would feel like an inherent downgrade to a lot of people who've just played the Thousand Year Door remake. So yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!